Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately. Folks, I want to share with you one of the best books that I have read in probably the last 5 years. Truly a great book. Truly a great book. And I'm going to introduce some of you. Others of you may have already read it, but everyone needs to read this book. It was written in 2023, and it is an extremely informative and powerful book. Now, obviously, you need to be a reader. I talk about reading on this channel all the time. Reading is essential. It is extremely important that you read so that you won't be misled. I'm not trying to mislead you, and it's the reason why I encourage you to read. It is the folks who don't read and are telling you a whole bunch of lies who don't encourage you to read. I want you to be readers. I want the African-American community to be readers, which is why we created a program called BARS, Black America Reading Strongly. I'll get back to that at another time, but this book is powerful. It will help you understand a lot of what we are experiencing right now. So let's get into the book. The book is essentially about these four people. These four people, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and Mark Andreessen, the so-called Technocrats. And the name of the book is The End of Reality. The End of Reality, and the author is Jonathan Taplin. Jonathan Taplin, The End of Reality. It is a very, very informative book. Now, all I can do today is just water your taste buds, right? We can't get very deep in the book. It is a book that you need to sit down or just before bed or whatever your reading habits are and read this book and, really enjoy it and take notes because he shares a lot here. So The End of Reality, how 4 billionaires are selling a fantasy future of the metaverse, Mars, and crypto. The subtitle is really informative, right? As well as the title, The End of Reality, how 4 billionaires are selling a fantasy future of the metaverse, Mars, and crypto. Okay, let's get into it. So this is what he says just right out the gate. This is the introduction, a part of the introduction of the book. He says, and I quote, "I use the term techno-determinism to describe the path the technocrats have dictated for our country because they have sold and we have bought into the ideal that they are going to deliver us a bright future. And we tend to ignore facts that seem to contradict this story. The future they are now selling us, crypto fortunes, living to 200, that is something called transhumanism, spending our lives in the metaverse or on Mars, that's Elon Musk's dream for the world, is a lie, just as historian Timothy Snyder has shown that Donald Trump, quote, was lying not so much to deny the truth as to invite people into an alternative reality, close quote. But when we surrender to the lies of a Trump or a Musk, we yield power to those with the fortunes and the magnetism to create spectacle in the place of truth. And thus, that's why he named the book The End of Reality. Because these 4 billionaires who have wealth that approaches $1 trillion are trying to create these fantasy worlds, like living on Mars are living to be 250. These fantasy worlds that, again, replace or displace reality. Now, when he wrote this book, Trump had not been elected. Since then, Trump has been elected, and all four of these people are closely connected with Trump. And the thing that he really warns the American people about in this book, well, I would say one of many things, is that these people are in position now. They weren't when he wrote the book, but they are in position now to use government money to create these fantasy worlds. You got to read the book. It is completely fascinating. All right, let's dig a little deeper. Now, one of the things the book talks about is something called technocracy. Technocracy. Technocracy was created by these two gentlemen, Joshua Haldeman and Howard Scott. And I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing Haldeman right. It just may be Haldeman. The E may be silent. I don't know. But in any event, this is Elon Musk's grandfather. And he created this thing called technocracy, him and Howard Scott, right at the turn of the 20th century, right around the Depression period. He created this technocracy thing, and we're dealing with technocracy as I speak. All right, we're dealing with it right now. And the question is, are you prepared for it? Are you prepared for it? So here's how they describe technocracy in their own words. Technocracy is the science of social engineering. Now notice technology is the science of social engineering. So it's using science to engineer society. That's what technocracy is. It is using science to what? Engineer society, to make society be what they want it to be. Well, the idea was created again at the turn of the 20th century. But there, in the case of Joshua Haldeman, his grandson now has the means to do just that, to use science to engineer society. And that's what Elon Musk is doing, right? He's going around the country engineering society. He's deciding who's becoming president. He's deciding who's becoming prime ministers and so on across the globe. All right. His grandfather saw this a long time ago, but was not able to see it into fruition. Well, it's happening now, and we need to be concerned about it. Because as the author says, it is the end of reality. Goes on to say, let's keep reading. Technocracy is the science of social engineering, the scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population of this continent. And it's said another way here. The basic concept of technocracy was that engineers, not elected politicians, engineers, not elected politicians, should run society. In essence, it was a dictatorship by engineers. The technique. At the top of the organization chart was a continental director, the chief engineer of the country, who controlled the armed forces, continental research, social relations, and foreign relations. Now, again, this technocracy, it is to use the technocrats, the engineers, to run society, to engineer society. Not politicians, but software engineers, other types of engineers who are using their engineering skills, their critical thinking, to create and distribute goods and to run the government. Now, you may say, well, hey, that sounds pretty good because the politicians are certainly not doing a good job of it. Yeah, I follow what you're saying. I thought through this as I was reading the book, but there are some dangers here. One of which, again, is we will be bankrolling what they're talking about doing. And the other thing that makes this so dangerous is here on this page. And there are other dangers, but I'm sharing with you too. The fact that we would have to basically bankroll this. And secondly, but beyond financial power, the libertarian view, underscore the word libertarian view, worldview. The libertarian worldview held by our 4 billionaires has changed the role of capitalists in society. Each of our technocrats learned from Ayn Rand that if any civilization is to survive, it is the morality of altruism that men have to reject. Ayn Rand said, if any civilization is to survive, it is the morality of altruism. What is altruism? Well, it's being good. It's being empathetic. Ding, 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 ding. Does empathetic ring a bell? Well, sure. Elon Musk said recently, the weakness of Western civilization is empathy or altruism. So these people pretty much have this libertarian view, and they believe that being empathetic, being altruistic, that is being compassionate, being a person willing to help others, to have softness in your heart toward your fellow human being, they believe that is weakness. Imagine those people running the government. Imagine those people running the government. And I will let you in on this. Trump speaks very highly of Ayn Rand. So apparently he holds these libertarian views as well. And so we now can understand why they have no trepidation, no concern whatsoever closing down USAID and anything else to help people. And so they don't think twice about harming people, hurting people. It doesn't matter to them so long as they are achieving the ends or their goals. That is a very dangerous society to live in. And then when you think about the fact that these men have a close connection to South Africa, not all of them, but Musk certainly does, Thiel certainly does, have a close connection, reared in and or lived in South Africa. In fact, Elon Musk's grandfather, let me get back to him, he actually moved his family from Canada to South Africa during apartheid because, reportedly, he thought it was a great idea to live in a society of white supremacy. So he moved his family. That's how Elon Musk ended up being born there and reared there. And Peter Thiel also has connections with South Africa. So not only do these people think that it's a weakness to be empathetic or altruistic or compassionate, their backgrounds are steeped in white supremacy. Now, I have a degree in chemistry. I practice chemistry. I taught chemistry. I know how chemists, engineers, physicists, mathematicians, I know how they tend to think. And it's pretty much science, not faith, not feelings, but rational science. We don't want a society like that. That's what we're literally seeing now. We are seeing, as I speak, we are seeing these people go through the federal government, firing people left and right without any concern, any compassion. We don't need that. The country doesn't need more of that. And that all springs from this libertarian view. Libertarian is this sort of political philosophy that sort of focuses on two things: as less government as possible so that you have less regulations, right? And that then will enable the marketplace, corporations, businesses, the strongest in society, to make money, to grow, to become prosperous and wealthy. So, prosperity, deregulation, small government. That is what the libertarian believes and embraces. You know, we tend to think in this country, we tend to think liberal or progressive and conservative. But there are a whole lot of folks in the MAGA movement who are libertarian. And again, that means that they abhor big government, they abhor empathy, they abhor compassion, altruism, they abhor regulations, and so on. Because to them, it's about the bottom line. So, what I want you to do is go and get this book. Now, it can be, you know, there are some words in the book that you may not be familiar with. You got to have your dictionary there with you. You know, it depends on your reading level, and maybe not. But my point is, if you buy the book and it seems to be difficult to read, just keep reading. Just have your dictionary there. Just have your dictionary there so that you, in fact, if you read as I do, I read most of my books on an iPad. I can just, pull up the meaning of a word just by highlighting that word. So I don't need to have the dictionary right there, fortunately. But anyway, go get the book. Let me bring it up one more time. Get the book. Get the book. Get the book. Get the book. Here we go. The End of Reality. How 4 billionaires are selling a fantasy future of the metaverse. Mars, the metaverse, that's Mark Zuckerberg. He wants you to put on these eye coverings, I don't know what you call them, and just stay in the metaverse all day. Just stay in the metaverse all day. Elon Musk wants you to go to Mars, and Andreessen wants you to live for 250 years. And I agree with Jonathan Taplin that is all just a hoax, and it will cost taxpayers trillions, perhaps. And now they're in a position to actually get that money. Read the books, one of the best books that I've read in quite some time. All right, I am Reverend and Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett. Thank you for watching this video and hanging out with me. And remember, stay woke.